Hi guys, my name is Taj Savan.
And I'm Scotty Ogden.
Have you ever thought about having a podcast?
Have you ever wondered why people do podcasts?
Have you ever scared about trying to have a podcast because there are millions of podcasts out there?
How do you get your first podcast started?
Why even you want to have a podcast? Have you thought about that?
Well, I think this is going to be very, very educational. We want to put this very first podcast out there for you, just kind of like a little teaser that stay tuned and you'll understand to create and generate some podcasting. We're going to share a couple little secrets here, not all of them, but we'll share a couple secrets. And if you're really interested in hearing more about our podcast or you want to be a guest on our show at the end of our podcast, give us a review. Let us know how we did, what you want to see, and maybe if you want to be a guest on our show, give us a link, give us a call, and we would be happy to have you guys.
We want to share our path that we took to have our podcast. So stay connected.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get started.
Let's go. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Hello, and welcome to our brand new podcast. It's all about the construction industry. Our mission here is to support and empower construction workers in researching their full potential, providing them with the resources and training they need to succeed. In each episode, we'll dive into the unique challenges and opportunities facing those in this critical industry. You'll hear from experts in the field and explore innovative solutions to the issues that workers may face. At the heart of it all, we believe that by investing in our team, we can build a better future for those in the construction industry. We are dedicated to creating a motivated and knowledgeable workforce that can shape our communities and improve our daily lives. So join us now on this exciting journey as we work towards creating a brighter future for those in this industry. So here we are in our very first episode of our brand new podcast. We haven't even had a name for it yet, but it's Ogden Built Media. This was kind of a name that Tosh and I came up with. Kind of goes in sync with, Ogden Built Homes and ogdenbuilt.ca, our website name. So we are trying to design a podcast so that we can release weekly content. So we're going to discuss right now why we need to design a podcast and what the purpose of this podcast is. So I would say, if we want to discuss the state of our industry, what is missing in our industry and why should we be doing a podcast? What do you think?
Education is the most important thing in the industry because I can see a lot of, from my experience, I can see a lot of clients and customers, they don't have enough education to understand how the process can work and how they can find a better contractor and prevent to falling in the traps of many contractors. So
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of contractors out there that kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And this is kind of I think this is what we should do is have a podcast so we can educate everyone and let people know that contractors really need to get on board with, running an ethical company, scheduling properly, being in touch with their clients, running good staff members, and on the other hand, I think a lot of homeowners need to also watch podcasts like this so that they know what to look for in a good contractor. I mean, what's your thought on that?
About a week ago, I read a newsletter about the construction industry. As everybody knows, everything is thanks to technology, everything is going so fast. So um, construction industry is no exception of other industries.
Well, I think if we do a podcast, it creates a weekly content. And I know that we're in really, really crazy times now. It used to be someone would just phone up and say, go call the lumberyard and say, hey, do you have a good contractor? Lumberyard would be like, yeah, I know two contractors. But we are in such a busy time of this world that there are a lot of people that need renovations done, a lot of people that need a house built, and there's very limited supply of contractors. So I really believe that because we're in a changing world, we need to keep up with the times. And in keeping up with the times, it's really good to put out new content on a weekly basis that can keep our audiences engaged. Whether or not they want to go through me as a contractor or someone else, I mean, I could recommend great contractors, and if we all get on board and we have the same sort of mentality of like running an ethical company, or being more profitable, or making more friends in the industry, and word of mouth and advertising, I really think that we'll have something to be accountable to.
Education is so important for customers because we want to educate people because it's going to make industry easier and more accountable and more clear for everybody because there are customers, clients, and they want to do a renovation or build a new house, but they are scared about like, okay, so it's going to be hard. How can I find a contractor?
There was a customer that called me and said, can you please come and look at a job that a contractor started for me, and I need kind of like some help here because I don't know what to do next. So I'm like, okay. So I showed up to her house, and there was this huge building. It was like 80 by 50, and all the studs were up. The foundation was in. I don't know if you ever seen a house that's being framed, but the plywood, ran past the windows. It still kind of needed to be cut out around the doors. Some of the plywood wasn't even nailed. And I said, well, what's going on? Well, I'm waiting for my trusses to show up. And there's grass growing up through the foundation, and the ground is covered in grass. It's like it was an abandoned building. It had been sitting there for a year. And I said, well, what's taking so long? And the trust companies are really busy. So that's a little fishy to me because trust companies aren't as busy as one would think. But she said she'd been waiting 4 or 5 months. So I said, well, let me see the drawings. And the contractor had told her that she didn't need drawings, that she didn't need a permit, that she could build whatever she wanted as long as she took enough photographs. So if the city came to her and looked at the house, she could, this is what we did. But it was very suspicious to me because in Langley, and I'm a contractor because I don't know all the rules, but I know a lot of the rules. The rules are, if you're going to build a barn, you have to be 25 feet away from the property. If it's an accessory building and it's under 15 to 1600 square feet, then yeah, you can go right up to your property within like 1.5 meters. But a barn has to be 25 feet away. And this was literally 5 feet away from the property. I went and took my book because I was doing some estimating that day, and I shoved it in the corner. And literally, the building should be square in the corner. It was like there was an inch and a half on one side of my book because the contractor not only broke the rules, didn't follow protocol, but didn't even know how to build properly. And when I said to her, how much money have you spent on this project? She says, I've already given him $150,000. And the first thing I
That's
said is, it's time to call a lawyer because this guy's taking you to the cleaners. And it was since that day that I decided that I'm going to step up in the industry and I'm going to create some sort of accountability. I think everyone as a contractor needs to be accountable. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you want to be a contractor, it's very important to follow the rules, follow the laws, apply for permits, make sure the homeowner has clear communication of what's happening. There should be no bullshit in this industry. We're dealing with people's money, and it's very, very important that we do so in a professional and ethical manner.
and also vice versa actually because there are contractors, you do the job and you can't get paid. This is my point of view. What do you think about that?
You're absolutely right. I mean, before I even knew about how to run a contracting company, I didn't know how to actually run a company properly. So I would go out, I would do all the work, and then I wouldn't get paid for it because I didn't have contracts in place. There was no communication, there was no payment terms. So if you're a contractor and you've been in this situation before, there are things that there's protocols you can put in place. They're very, very simple. I can teach anyone how to do it. I've taken the time, I've been through what you are going through or what you have gone through, and I can teach and educate people how to write a contract, make an agreement, and don't bullshit the customer. And also look for bullshitters. There's a lot of customers where it's pretty obvious that they're just tire kickers, that they're going to use you. And we need a communication back and forth. And right away, if you don't know what you're talking about, you run the risk of either ripping the customer off or having the customer rip you off. Let's say we were to build a house and I said, okay, I'm going to build you a shed. Well, the shed in actual cost of material might cost $10,000. But in order for me to be profitable, I need to charge $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
So a homeowner might go, okay, so you can build it for 10,000. Can you build it for 8? And now you're stuck on the hook for building a $10,000 shed, which should be 15,000. You're now building it for 8. At the end of the day, that homeowner is getting exactly what they want. They're getting the shed and they're getting it for nothing because it's half the price of what they would have paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that you get educated as a contractor.
It's so important for showing that you're accountable because you, at least for the first step, you put effort on your stuff.
Yeah, so it's not easy to write a contract, but it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
So and here's the thing I want to talk about is if you were to spend, let's say, 10 hours at your desk writing out everything you plan to do in that contract, very specific details. I'm going to install the windows. I'm going to put the windowsills on. I'm going to paint them. I'm going to caulk around all the windows. Very, very specific details of what they expect from you. That takes 10 hours. Let's say it takes 20 hours. Well, let's look at it the other way. Let's say you did nothing and then you just went on a handshake. What happens at the end of the job? Now you're spending 20 to 30 hours chasing down money that you only have a 50-50 chance of getting. So better to be proactive than reactive as far as I'm concerned, right?
Who are you gonna interview in the next month as the first interview?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We have kind of a lineup of what we're going to do here. We're going to interview someone that works in the movie industry because when you're podcasting, it would be really, really smart to interview someone that actually knows about lighting and sound and editing and filming. So also bring on a podcaster. She
Podcast,
actually
yeah.
interviewed me. So I could add that as a link as well so you could hear. I did a podcast on the High School Trades Challenge back in 1993 at BCIT. I didn't know this, but it was the very first time they had ever done this kind of a competition. I was the guy that won first place
Mm-hmm.
for what she's looking for, like this alumni. So we're going to bring her on as and interview her because she knows all about podcasting, how to launch your podcast, how to record your podcast, how to edit your podcast, and like doing some names for the podcast and even marketing it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to be our second guest. Third one is going to be our web designer. He
Mhm.
owns Steady Digital. Yeah, and we do have a guest that I can't say his name yet because I haven't officially invited him yet, but I'm really excited. It's going to be sort of you might not know of him, but you know of his work. So I can't announce that just yet, but I do have a kind of a list of people that I am interested in interviewing, and the reason why is for education. I mean, you might get bored with listening to me, and I think there's other professionals out there that know more about one specific topic than what I know about. I'm the pro on home building and quality and dealing with clients, but I'm not the pro on running a social media company. So we're going to bring these experts in so that we can report back to you guys and let you know what our findings are. We're doing this strictly for the education business. We're doing this for content. We're doing this to help the contracting industry, to help the owners, and to just educate everybody. You're not going to go out there and be a contractor and be some filthy rich guy and don't do any work. This is not a get rich quick scheme here, being a contractor. So this is a business that you have to love. You got to love to be a contractor. But if you show them a great experience, man, they're going to tell 5 or 6 people. And then you do work for those 5 or 6 people, and those people are going to tell people. And the next thing you know, you're making a business because people are just calling you. We don't actually go out looking for work right now. Most of our phone calls come from word of mouth. And yes, we are growing our business right now and we're trying to educate. So we're going into a new market of social media so that we can get a bigger audience. We don't want to just focus on the building of the house anymore or servicing the client on building the house. We're already doing that. We want to branch out a little bit further and we want to educate other builders. So I would love to create a program that helps educate people or helps mentor them through a program where they, at the end, can come out and be a registered contractor.
Besides education for uh, people and other contractors, what other benefits you want to create out of this podcast?
Well, I really think framing is fun, building is fun, meeting clients is fun, but I want to create a work environment where I have multiple people working and it's fun. I want to create a company that everyone enjoys coming to. I want to have benefits for everyone. I want to have RRSPs for everyone. We want to do a lot of team culture events. I think there's a difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And if you're going to a job that you hate, that's a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not growing, you feel dead inside. So I want to create an environment where like the people, the culture, the camaraderie, where we're all together and we're doing something that's fun and we're brainstorming. I want to empower people and I want people to empower me. I want to employ a bunch of people that I can empower to do what they love to do. Because by creating fun that you guys enjoy what we're doing, we enjoy what we're doing, and we all have one common goal of creating this utopia of happiness and creativity.
I love to do this job. Like, when you love to doing it, you always trying to be productive. You always to want to be creative.
You have to understand what you're doing when you come here, or you're going to be bored. You're not going to like your job. If you're just coming here and doing what you're told, this is not sustainable. You're going to hate this job. And you got to have a job that you love.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but like I plan on touching millions of people in this world. You might think this is a joke, or people might think I'm crazy. I once learned from a very successful business owner. And don't get me wrong here. When I say success, I don't mean money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean fulfilling a worthwhile dream or goal. How have you become so successful? What was your trick? And he said to me, I still have the same employees today that I had 25 years ago. And I said, wow, like I can't even keep a guy employed for 3 months. You have to treat them like you care about them. And you actually do need to care about them as well. Like give them bonuses at Christmas time and do some team culture events. And when you see their spouse, tell their spouse how much that person means to you and listen to what they have to say. I actually treat people like humans, and I realize now I look for things in people where they can grow and thrive and be better. Everyone's got their little personality and tweaks and things. Everyone's got their way of thinking. And if you allow someone to grow, if you allow someone to take charge of their own life,
Yeah, because
yeah,
we are all human and we think like differently. But sometimes people need a direction to go there. Like, so this is the way that I can see on you, so I put you in that right position, which is really good.
yeah, I definitely think that empowering people is a very strong belief of mine. Not everybody wants to be a business owner. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to go to a job site where my opinion mattered to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I'm going to run my own company because my opinion mattered to that person.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have staff that work for me. Their opinion should matter to me.
Yeah.
And if their opinion matters to me, then they feel like they've been heard. And that enriches people's lives. And that's why I want to be a part of that. I want to pass that on. And not everyone's going to be like that. I might take on someone that wants to work in the company and I empower them and do, they do what they want to do, and they might take advantage of me. And that's when, we got to draw the line and say, okay, well, this isn't really what we're for here. We're not like, I'm not giving of myself so that you could take advantage of me. We still need to work for a greater cause. We still need to create a sustainable business.
Mm-hmm.
And creating a sustainable business is taking risks for sure, but it also takes a lot of tenacity. It doesn't take sitting around waiting for something to happen. It takes action. And thoughts without actions are just thoughts, right? So you can come up and dream about everything that might be good in life, but if you don't put that to action and have a plan of action, it's just a thought. It just goes nowhere, right? Imagine if everyone that had this great invention didn't do anything about it. Where would we be today? It's people that actually dream up these great inventions, and now we're this much further in the world.
That's a really great explanation of the taking the action, because I remember I was like reading like a lot of content about like, okay, so if you want to improve your lifestyle or whatever, after you're thinking, just write it down. So now I understand why they said write it down, because when you think, it's just a thought, but when you write it down, you took the action. So that would be a one step further, you know. So it's a good lesson, I guess.
It's better to fail trying than failing to try. Tosh, this was a really good episode of our very first podcast. I think we covered a lot of grounds here. We covered why we're going to do a podcast, how we're going to get the information to do these podcasts, who we're going to interview, what kind of world we want to create after these podcasts, and really like engaging our audiences. I really want to encourage you guys, if you like what you've seen here, click down below there on our little screen here and follow. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, click the follow on there and follow us along, because we're just going to keep doing this. It's going to be a weekly thing we're going to do. So hopefully we can maintain that weekly goal. If it's too much, we might switch it up a little bit, but I always think let's aim high and shoot for the stars. What do you have to say, Tosh?
It was a great interview for like planning for the first podcast, I guess. We point out the base of this podcast, that what we're gonna do, what's our plan, who's gonna be the next interviewing, and it was great, I guess. Yeah, we can just go forward.
Yeah, and if any of you really want to, like, if you're interested in podcasting, here's another thing you could do. You could look us up on ogdenbuilt.ca. Click the link in our podcast zone there. Contact us, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as to what we did or how we set up our room here. This is a real treat that we've got some lighting, and we've got some cameras, and we've got some chairs, some plants. It's just been a great experience to create what I believe is the first of some very successful educational videos and some entertainment.
That's great. So follow us for the next episode. Scotty Ogden, Tosh Savan. See you in the next episode.